Thank you very much to the speaker. Next is Audi, automotive manufacturer. Audi develops EV and expands the use of natural energy centered around Europe, and it has started selling automobiles in Japan as well. We have Philipp Noack, President and CEO, who will be speaking. So over to you, sir.
Good afternoon. A very warm welcome from my side. My name is Philipp Noack. I'm president of Audi Japan. And for me, it is today a very great honor to speak at your annual conference, the Renewable Energy Institute. And more excitingly, I see that we are having a lot of companies, institutions, individuals who share the same goal. And also, we are all working on building a society based on renewable energy. So, of course, I think you can see that Audi is fully committed on the Paris Agreement. Certainly, we want to achieve a zero emission based on 2050, because we are heavily committed that we want to keep the global temperature below the 2 degrees. Today, I would like to share with you our form and our strategy about electrification and how we become carbon neutral. Before, let me give you some ideas and some hints what Audi is all about. It is a company with a very long tradition, because we are founded in 1899 by August Horch. Last year, we sold more than 1.69 million cars, and we have more than 87,000 employees globally. We are part of the Volkswagen Group, which consists more than 12 brands. And on annual sales, we're selling more than 10 million cars. Now, of course, preventing the climate change and safeguarding our environment, it is our utmost priorities for the world. Of course, you can see that we are facing lots of dynamic changes, like digitalization, connected cars, and also autonomous driving, which is driving our industry. Therefore, we have to be prepared, and we have a strategic mission that is called Consistently Audi. While being consistently Audi, we also have to make sure that we operate in a most sustainable way. And part of our strategy is also said consistently sustainable. Now, what it means for us to be consistently sustainable. We have to provide personal mobility, and we will continue to do so. Furthermore, the United Nations 7 Sustainable Development Goals is more about environmental and sustainable, is also about human rights, integrity, and governance. We have to show our focus, and we have to be committed, and we have to make sure that we reduce our environmental footprint and reduce our CO2 emission. What it actually means for us and means for the Volkswagen Group, we also have to face that globally we are 1% causing CO2 emissions with our existing passenger car portfolio. So certainly a big task for us. But of course, we are looking globally and zero emission and carbon neutral by 2050. But of course, the journey starts immediately, and we have to act immediately. And we already reduced, and we committed to reduce our carbon footprint by 2025 by 30%, based on our 2050 numbers. These are ongoing projects, and really, we cannot only look at the vehicle use, we have to look at the whole supply chain, from resources to suppliers to production, and also finally, also to recycling. And of course, a major contributor, we are working closely with more than 14,000 direct suppliers globally in more than 16 countries. Of course, it is also here our key responsibility to create a more sustainable supply chain through people, environment, also an organization and innovation. We have conducted for us something we call S-rating and try to put it in a compliant way and safeguard and guide our supplier through that, through these criteria. Audi estimates that in 2025, 1/4 of the CO2 from our vehicle fleet will be derived from the supply chain. Therefore, we have certainly looked at the most intensive energy process and look at them and create new and a circular loop in order to reduce CO2 emissions. Now, what does that exactly mean? I want to give you an example on our closed aluminum loop. As we are producing in Ingolstadt and Neckarsulm, we are producing A3, A4, A6, and A8 based on aluminum. And we are using fully recycled aluminum sheets that were scrapped. And of course, we're also looking into secondary aluminum, and that has been recycled from our production process and reuse them again. This is a recycle rate of almost 100%. And due to this process, we can save more than 90% of energy. Out of this, we are able per year to save more than 150,000 tons of CO2 emission. Now, Mission Zero is something else that we initiated at our own production site to achieve zero emission and carbon neutral at all our factories by 2025. Now, let me give you a precise example of 2 factories where we have already done. Brussels has been certified in 2018 as a CO2 neutral production. And we utilized 3 main pillars of how we achieve that. Of course, we use green electricity. Furthermore, we reduce our electricity, thermal management, which we will use also at the production site, and we offset in unavoidable cases where we have to produce, we offset our carbon scheme. The second factory, which I would like to highlight, is our plant in Hungary, in Győr. We established and we built the largest solar panel installation in Europe, more than 160,000 square meters, which equivalents to 22 football stadiums. More than 36,000 solar cells have been installed, and they produce 9.5 gigawatt hour electricity every year, which is equivalent to the electric use of 30,000 households. We are also able to manage that 70% of the heating of the energy is available geothermally. And the rest of the energy that is needed for our production is CO2-free biogas. Other factories in Mexico and Germany, we are also maximizing and reducing our CO2 emission, and we have done already by 70 to 75%. Over many years, we are also working closely together in order to reduce our CO to due to logistics. We're working with green trains in Germany to ship our cars to the shipment to Emden with the Deutsche Bahn cargo, which is the green trains. Also here, more than 13,000 tons of CO2 could be reduced. We're also changing from diesel trucks to LNG trucks to liquid natural gas. And also here, the journey will continue because we are changing liquid natural gas with biogas to further reduce our CO2 footprint. I also would like to draw your attention that we are using facilities and innovation to taking and offset carbon emissions. Audi has been partnering with non-automotive ventures for CSS, carbon capture and storage. Climeworks, a very innovative Zurich-based startup, is building the largest direct air capture and storage facility to convert atmospheric CO2 in the rocks of Iceland. The facility is filtering 4,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide from the air and mineralize it underground. Climeworks is removing 1,000 metric tons on behalf of Audi from the atmosphere. Proudly, I can say that in 2020, we launched in Japan our first fully electric vehicle. The car was launched globally in 2018. And through that, we could sell more than 70,000 cars globally with the Audi e-tron, our first fully electric vehicle. Proudly, we can say that in Norway, the Audi e-tron was the best-selling passenger car in 2020. And also in Japan, we could see a jump start. We got a very valuable feedback from press and media for a quiet ride and smooth driving of the Audi e-tron. Also, I can say that we became Technology Car of the Year with the Audi e-tron Sportback. What a fantastic start for us here in Japan with our electric offensive. By 2025, Audi is committed and aims for more electric cars. We want to introduce more than 20 electric cars and more than 10 plug-in hybrids in order to achieve our target. And it might seem to be very ambitious, but I can tell you in Germany, 7% of the total sales are already electrified cars. And just the month of December showed that 2% of total sales are possible. Very exciting times, and shortly we will launch an Audi, a new brand shaper, the Audi e-tron GT, a super sport Gran Turismo that will be the new brand shaper of the Audi brand. And here we are sharing and utilizing a platform together with Porsche and the cousin, the Porsche Taycan. The car is already now produced carbon neutral at the Böllinger Höfe in Germany. And we will continue. We will accelerate our speed with the Audi e-tron Q4, the first compact electric SUV, which also will have its world premiere shortly. Also here, we are using a platform out of the group, which is called the MEB platform. And this car will have a range of 500 kilometers with a battery capacity of 82 kilowatt hour. Of course, we are very excited to bring this car into the market, and we see that the car will come to Japan within the next 10 to 16 months. But of course, as a manufacturer, it is also our obligation to narrowing the cost gap. Currently, we can see that 1 kilowatt hour costs around about 150 euros. And of course, with our resources and our synergies, in the next years, we try to reduce it to 100 euro per kilowatt hour. How are we going to do this? Because we will share a lot of platforms within our Volkswagen Group. And of course, the economy of scale will lower the production cost. We are very excited to bring these cars into the next generation. They will also start by 2024. For us, that we can see is a major challenging is a charging infrastructure. As long as the cars become a longer driving range, customers are expecting to have charging facility that accepts and speeds up and are convenient to our customers. In Europe, we can see that manufacturers joining forces, and they're building up with Ionity charging infrastructure that up to date can already charge to 150 kilowatts. And they're accelerating. They're taking the next step. Even 350 kilowatts are possible. Also in the US, Audi is partnering an initiative to build up charging infrastructure. Under the name Electrify America, Audi wants to establish a high charging infrastructure across the United States. I think in Japan, we are looking at the moment at ChargeMO public chargers. The quickest possibility that we can see at the moment are 50 kilowatts. And most of the main public charging stations are running to 20 to 30 kilowatts. Of course, we need to establish also in Japan, and we need to increase faster charging systems across Japan. Regarding electricity and EV, Volkswagen has established a service to promote and to use natural energy in Europe. Volkswagen Naturstrom is providing 100% renewable energy to individual and corporate users of Volkswagen Group fleet, which also, of course, Audis are accounting for. In Japan, proudly I can say that we're partnering up with Kirin Energy, a provider of renewable energies and an option for us and for our e-tron customers and owners. And of course, we also would like to partner up our dealers. We understand at the moment that due to high volatility on the Japan electric power exchange, we see a high fluctuation in prices. And we also see difficulties there. But we're redesigning together with Kirin Energy is redesigning their plans, and we see that we will come back even stronger to provide also our customers 100% renewable energy if they want to drive and charge their Audi e-tron. Of course, we all know that electric cars consume more energy than internal combustion engines, vehicles. And during the production of the battery, of course, we need to make sure that we use with renewable energy is absolutely crucial to bring down the CO2 emission, because we want to stay below internal combustion engines. Of course, we welcome the initiative of the METI and the Ministry of Environment to double subsidize EV owners when they charge their EVs with renewable energy. As you can see, Audi is really on the move. And we created a new brand communication for us, which is future is an attitude. We as Audi want to shape the future of sustainable mobility also for generations to come. We have to change our economy, and we have to change and come back and come off from fossil fuels going into renewable energies. And I believe that we will overcome these difficulties together as a group and with partners who also share with us the same vision. Before I finish my presentation, let me also invite you to our Audi House of Progress, which we just set up in the heart of Tokyo. This is our new brand showroom where we want to show you what it means for us: sustainability, performance, design, and digitalization. I would like to invite you also to see our new Audi e-tron and test drive, and also see the Audi Q4 e-tron. Please visit, have a look, and I promise you, you will see a lot of new things that maybe gives you a motivation to work on a more sustainable lifestyle. Thank you very much for your attention. Wish you all the best.
ノアック様、ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much.
So last of the user examples from a Japanese company, Kirin Holdings, Mr. Sosuke Yoshikawa will make a presentation. Kirin Beer is the key company within the key holding, but they were working to reduce CO2 emission by utilizing natural energy. So Mr. Yoshikawa, the floor is yours. Thank you very much for the introduction. My name is Yoshikawa from Kirin Holdings. Now, for me, within the Kirin Group, I am serving as a leader for climate change countermeasures. So today, I'd like to talk about the initiatives of our group. So to begin with, Apple and Audi before me made wonderful presentations, and it's not going to be an emotional or stylish presentation made by the two former presenters. It'll be much more, I suppose, subsided type of the presentation. But I'd like to frankly communicate to you some of the things that we are thinking at our group. So to begin with, since it is hosted by the Renewable Energy Institute, I'd like to talk about this situation for the Kirin Group regarding the natural energy. Now, Kirin Group in 2017, and we have actually made a declaration for SPT at 2 degrees. And after that, not just in Japan, but overseas, we have started to work on various types of utilization of natural energy, which we will continue to do going into the future. In particular, last year, we joined RE100, and we have also updated our target regarding SPT. So we need to execute and not just say. So in that respect, not just introducing natural energy, but our business or in the society, we wanted to enlarge the basis upon which natural energy can be utilized. So as you can see towards the bottom of the slide, in what way can we contribute to the society is also something that we have started to be more involved in. In particular, I would like to talk about two things that we worked on in last year. First of all, we used subsidy from the Ministry of the Environment, and we have introduced the solar, cell-derived electricity using PPA. And from February to the March, 2 mega or 3 megawatt scale, which is quite large for the rooftop on the factories that were introduced. Now, what we felt was that the scheme of PPA is quite an effective means to introduce natural energy. And also, if we were unable to utilize subsidy, then we would not have been able to secure benefits over the general the electricity. So I think price still remains to be a major challenge in Japan. Next slide. This is also regarding the Kirin Beer factory initiative. For our factory in Nagoya, from mid this year, we are going to purchase natural energy for all the energy purchases. This is an energy derived from solar power generation. And this is a collaborative effort with someone we contract with. And the key is why we do this rather than the project itself. As I said at the outset, in Japan, the companies who have joined RE100 number the second highest around the world, but the volume is still small. So if we think about the long future, what type of portfolio can we put together for natural energy? And that was likely to become one challenge. So as part of such initiative, we wanted to make one factory 100% natural energy. So that was the initiative here. So why is Kirin Group making significant effort to introduce natural energy? And let me talk about this theme in the remaining part of my presentation. Some of you listening to the presentation today may be involved in initiatives to increase the climate change initiatives in your companies. So in your companies, how are you reach a consensus? I think some of the presentation that I will make today could be of hint. Now, the Kirin Group, I think the Japanese audience are probably familiar with us, but we are a company that handles beverage that is sold in supermarkets and so forth. But we also do pharmaceutical product, and we also have business internationally for beverages, mainly alcoholic beverage. Now, what we value the most is the concept called CSV. So we want to generate both social and the value, and social value is to contribute to people, and we want to vitalize the regional community and so forth, and environment is also part of this. And we work on this, and we do this as part of our business, still generating economic profit, and it's not going to be something that we do as a kind of just a social initiative. And the CSV is to achieve social value and economic value. Now, what is economic value in this respect? So if we break down the economic value, essentially to create cash flow and also reduce capital cost. When we look at capital cost, our business, the fact that it is sustainable to make sure that the business will not collapse, and for us to be able to show that we need to do things good for the environment, and we need to become business that is supported by the regional community. And by doing this, we are able to lower the business risk, essentially lowering the capital cost. And also implementing climate change initiatives by working on energy conservation, we will work on reducing energy costs. That will reduce costs for the company overall, generating greater free cash flow. And that economic value created is invested into the next project, and that will also generate social value, but we will also enhance economic value. That is the kind of concept that we have adopted in operating a company. And this is what is referred to as materiality matrix. And environment. And there is a significant impact to our business, but there is also a large impact towards the social sustainability as well. So certainly it is considered to be a very important initiative for us. And so up until here is something you may find in textbook, but our business is creating something that people consume. So there is a very important concept that we uphold, which is reverence for life. So using the blessing of the nature and creating something to be delivered people. So we feel that this is an aspect that we must not forget. So when we are manufacturing, or when we are doing R&D, or when we actually are operating a manufacturing plants, we need to always respect and value things that have life. So that is at our origin, and through the technologies and business operation, we try to contribute towards the health and also regional community, and also we want to contribute towards the environment. Until now, I've shared our concept, and that is considered as the basis, and we created the Kirin Group Environmental Vision 2050. We actually established this anew. We had something like this previously, but we've looked at the social environment right now, and over a long-term period like 2050, these are things that we need to do. These are things that we need to head towards. So that's the kind of thinking reflected in the vision. And so climate change, we want to engage ourselves to achieve a net zero. This is a declaration we have made. And something that we value here is to create an affluent Earth by making positive impact. We want to value this aspect of positive impact. And what we mean by this is that not just doing good things within our business, but we want to do things that will be bring positive impact towards the society. And by doing this continuously, repeatedly, that will make the Earth itself, the world itself, more sustainable so that it can be passed on to the future generations. The next page. We're talking about the global movements and the actions of Kirin. And I'd like to talk about what we have done so far. And towards the top, you have a kind of the history in green, and the things were required from the society are described at the top. So if you actually look at the top and bottom, in alignment to the global trend, we have been responding as the posture of the company. And this is not something that occurred by chance, but we have been working with various research institutes like the Renewable Energy Institute. So we are always trying to be in contact so that we want to be a company that can implement measures ahead of the development and not just responding. So that this is, I suppose, reflected in this page. So our stance towards climate change. And I think the mindset is the same with everyone participating today. And from climate change, we are starting to see the situation being considered as a climate crisis, as the President Biden is saying. And the climate change initiatives are not a plus alpha type of initiative, but it's part of our business initiative itself, international trend, or in terms of policies. There are various types of climate change related discussion being held right now, so we want to keep in touch and respond as necessary. And this is a certainly managerial, I suppose, issue for us. And next, 2020, what did we do? So given the current environment, COVID-19 certainly did have a lot of impact towards our business. And the beverage, the business for us, certainly, essentially restaurants, the operation became tougher, and so our business also became tougher as a result. But something like this could occur in the future, and something unexpected could be could potentially surface in society. So we want to work on this towards 2050. This is the kind of the agreement that we have within our group. So when we announced the long-term policy in February, we have started to participate in various types of international declarations and initiatives. And in autumn, we have established as the management goals, like area 100 and so forth. So I'd like to talk about more specific the strategy from here. Now, the Kirin Group, or climate change, we feel that we have been working on this initiative for quite a long time, and 2019, this is the base year for Kyoto Protocol. In comparison to there, the value chain entirely from Scope 1 to Scope 3 at 2019, we have been able to achieve 30% reduction or so. And we want to reach net zero, and that is our long-term goal. And the key point here is that when we're reducing this 32%, we have made various challenges ourselves, whether it be R&D or development of product. We have worked in this area as well. And there are a lot of know-how and technology we have obtained as part of those experiences. We want to apply that more in Japan, but at the same time, we want to roll that out to our group companies on a global basis so that we can accelerate our pace towards achieving net zero. That is our fundamental thinking here. Next is the medium-term goal. SBT we have upgraded. We have changed this to 1.5 degrees as standard. We have received approval for that already. And for SBT for scope 1 and 2 by 2030, we want to reduce by half. That is a quantitative target we have set for scope 3. Our target is 30%. The RE100 target by 2040, the electricity we use will be made entirely natural energy. And this is most ambitious or most aggressive target amongst the Japanese food manufacturers. Next, I'd like to talk about the scale in terms of volume. And the pie chart on the left is the Kirin Group scope 1 and 2 for the different business areas. And on the right covers scopes 1, 2, 3. For the Kirin Group overall. Now, if you could look at the pie chart on the right, what is shown in the red, the thick line is scope 1 and 2. So majority of emission comes from scope 3. In particular, the green portion, the purchased product. And we have quite large emission coming from aluminum cans. And if you could look at the left, this is the total of scopes 1 and 2. And so Kirin Beer as business, Lion is an Australian beverage company and amino acid. So we are actually generating a lot of emission across all of the businesses. So everyone have to put in effort. And where it says Myanmar, well, Myanmar is certainly in kind of a state of turmoil right now, but it is a growth market within JANIA, and so countries that is growing are likely to generate more carbon dioxide going forward. So we certainly cannot turn, I suppose, a light eye towards that. So in order to reduce emissions, what can we do? And what becomes important is we need to do things first based on what we can do in scope 1 and 2. So we need to achieve energy conservation, expansion of natural energy, and we need to also achieve energy the convergence. The details are shown on this slide, but we will combine these three initiatives for us to work on emission reduction. And for us to do this, how are we to reflect things into the actual operation of the company? We're having these type of discussions right now. The numbers shown on this slide is just talking about the kind of scale of the discussions that we are having. And on left, if we do nothing, the emission will increase as shown on the blue line because we want to increase our sales volume. And so we want to work on energy conservation, and energy conservation also has cost benefits as well, so we'll continue to work on that. And that is shown in the yellow line, but it still falls short of our target. And so that part that we fall short of the target, we need to procure natural energy. But if we can purchase this amount or procure this amount, we can still achieve our target. But what happens in terms of expense? And that is shown on the right. And I said that we'll work on energy conservation, and we are able to reduce costs, so the expenditure will come down as a consequence. But when we have to purchase a lot of natural energy, that means that procurement costs will increase. And for us to work on natural energy, we need to make more capex. But if we look at this in totality as net present value, we will have positive figure. We want to do this to make sure that the net present value will not become zero or less than zero. And we are working on various types of R&D initiatives, so it may not be as clean as this, but as long as this makes sense, then we want to make decision as early as possible. So we're trying to achieve consensus amongst the management, top management of the company. And I want to briefly talk about the challenges for the future. And as with all the companies, achieving the target is, of course, important, but it needs to be economic viable. So SBT 1.5 degrees, RE100, and net zero. In that order, we would need a large amount of investment. More right we go, we will not be able to achieve just by ourselves. but not just thinking, but we need to implement initiatives with high economic rationale, and we'll need to continue to make achieving technological innovation. And as I've said before, in our case, we have large contribution from the scope 3. So how can we actually control that overall? That's going to be quite important. And for us, we do beverage, and unlike Apple or automotive, there is high price sensitivity. So if the price increase, people stop buying, and they end up buying competitors' products. It's a very delicate product, if you like. So we need to address the situation for the supply chain overall to achieve net zero by showing that appropriate profit level is achieved for the supply chain itself. We need to work on new initiatives, but I think there needs to be policies that will provide incentive towards companies that's working on climate change initiatives. And we need to also promote ethical consumption. So the society will be spending money for things that's good for the society and the earth, changing people's the consumption behavior. So what's shown in red is something that we cannot achieve only by ourselves. So whether it be the Renewable Energy Institute or whether it be the members of the government, I think we need to collaborate on making these possible. Now, what are the challenges as seen from the natural energy perspective, not from the perspective of the business? Now, to utilize natural energy, in other words, for us to achieve net zero, we need to maximize usage of our natural energy. If that's the case, for us as being a manufacturing industry, we need to go electrification, and once the hydrogen infrastructure is established, and since hydrogen is a clean energy, we need to utilize hydrogen. But hydrogen probably is something where the infrastructure will not be made ready until 2030. So during the 2020s, we need to continue to work on energy conservation, electrification, and utilization of natural energy. And lastly, and probably this is a challenge that you all face, which is securing renewable energy or natural energy. I suppose the availability of the natural energy is still very much limited, and there are greater demand. So there will be an increase going forward. We need to certainly work on establishing a short-term and long-term portfolio, and we need to also increase the amount of the natural energy generated and enhance the grid functionality. So this completes my presentation, but last to finish with, I'm sure you've seen this picture of Kirin. Kirin is a kind of a mythical creature from China. It is considered as a messenger of good luck. And Kirin flies the skies. Its feet never touch the ground so as not to harm any insects or plants. In other words, a kind of a creature does not have any negative impact to the environment. And such a creature was our symbol. So like our symbol Kirin, we want to pass on to the future generation a rich natural environment. That completes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yoshikawa. We will take a break at this point, a shorter break than originally intended, 3 minutes, 14 hours, 17 minutes. That is when we'd like to resume, so we seek your kind cooperation.